Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 8 of Nicolae. The chapter begins with Rayford as he returns to his home and strips down to his boxers before turning in. Before he falls asleep he feels relieved that he was informed that his wife, slave, is safe and so is Chloe. He prays he can attend Bruce's memorial service and wishes he could read some of Bruce's manifesto. Scene changes to Buck and he meets with Haim. He can tell Haim is upset, but as they hug Haim weeps bitterly into his shoulder. At least when he stops he talks to Buck about Cyan and how his family was slaughtered because of his beliefs. Haim mentions that the authorities want to implicate Cyan in the murder of his family. Buck protests and Haim mentions that he's afraid of being followed because he is a friend of Haim. He warned Buck that he might be next and they might follow him too. Buck mentions that he wants to rescue Cyan and will do it any way that he can. He gave the phone number of his new super-powered cell phone and tells Haim that it is a satellite phone and very secure. Considering that Haim is in Nicolae's back pocket, that doesn't strike me as being a good idea. Haim further says he called Nicolae and asked him for help. In the previous chapter Rayford overheard Nicolae laughing about Haim's request to his henchman. Buck finds a payphone even though he just told Haim he had a very secure cell phone and booked himself a room in a hotel. We get a snide bit where they ask him what company he represents. Something I never heard a hotel do unless it was a convention. Buck replies with great harvester thinking it honors worthless Bruce and Cyan. There is a Bible verse when the Gospels use an analogy that converting people to Christianity is like harvesting souls just as you would harvest wheat. Reading up to this point has been horrendous because there is nothing but fluff and filler. Everything that moves the story along could be fit into one single chapter. If any of the books caused the readers to give up and quit, it would not surprise me if it was this one. Even if we ignore Chloe acting like a 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum in the last book, there is nothing really interesting in this book. Christians bragging that they are super smart and they do dumb things. Is this supposed to be Christian humor or irony? The only good thing is that Buck makes a foreshadowing comment about what he will do in the future. The event itself is very lame and boring, but at least it's a little something different from Rayford walking around eavesdropping and saying how he's a pilot that doesn't know how to fly planes. Buck worshipping Bruce as if he were Jesus Christ himself. Chloe gets lost and crashes an indestructible car because she's an overgrown 3-year-old. Scene changes to Rayford and he wakes up suddenly as if he has a premonition and his phone immediately rings. Hattie tells him that she wants to see him. Considering their jaded past, this seems ridiculous. But he eventually agrees. We get another paragraph about Buck going into the hotel room to shower. It also mentions that Steve, his old boss, is proud of his job. This was a complete waste of everyone's time. Scene goes back to Rayford as he gets ready to have dinner with Hattie. The story immediately recaps everything that has been rehashed over and over again. We get the typical, Rayford was a fake Christian and how his life changed with the rapture. This recap ends with Rayford thinking he will be a positive change on Hattie. He thinks he can do anything to change that he had an imaginary affair in his mind and then treated her like shit. He then tries to force her to be punished because of her unknown role in the imaginary affair. She must be a masochist if she is still coming to him, or so lonely that she doesn't have another friend in the world. She really hasn't found anyone since she has been dating Nicolae. She never met with the wives. There are a lot of better people she could be confiding in other than Rayford. Scene changes to Buck and we get more of the nonsense about his superpower to wake up whenever he wants without an alarm clock. Buck gets driven to meet with the two fakes and we get told again about their preaching. And they claim Cyan is one of the 144,000 Jewish converts. This number still seems minute compared to how large the world population is. The authors still put a spin on this by having the fakes claim that 144,000 are the first of many converts that converted from Judaism. Again, poetic license where the authors meet to justify the Bible's foolishness. The chapter ends with the fakes repeating Bible verses, because they cannot talk like normal folks do because of poetic license. If you piece together the nonsense, we come away with that Cyan is in Galilee somewhere. Buck has to spend the next chapter trying to figure all this out because rather than saying cyan can be found here so you can see him, they instead have to make him jump through hoops. This concludes chapter 8 of Nicolae. See you next time for chapter 9, which should be the halfway point of this book. Not that that says really much, but see you next time.